Hello again, this is AZC2 and today I'll be speaking about Singapore's fourth Prime Minister, aka fourth generation Prime Minister. Cabinet Minister Lawrence Wong has been recently unveiled as the leader of the fourth generation of ministers, meaning he could be the potential Prime Minister once Hsien steps aside. It is rumored that Hsien could step aside before the 2025 general election, handing over to a younger person. Lawrence Wong is the youngest of the fourth generation ministers that were brought into power from 2011 to 2015. And him, along with Chan Chun Sing and Ong Ye Kung, were touted as possible successors to the current Prime Minister Lee. Lawrence Wong was previously a civil servant responsible for the country's energy needs as the CEO of Energy Marketing Authority. When he was elected to power, he was the Member of Parliament for the Boon Lay Ward of West Coast GRC before moving over to Marsiling UT GRC in 2015. During his political career, he served as the Minister for National Development and then Education before being appointed as Finance Minister, a position previously held by the people's favourite, Tharman Shanmugaratnam. Most people have a soft spot for Tharman because he's seen as somewhat more liberal of the authoritarian crowd. It doesn't matter that Mr. Tharman is a non-Chinese. Deputy Prime Minister Heng Swee Keat said Singaporeans weren't ready for a non-Chinese Prime Minister, which offended many of Tharman's supporters because they thought it was a racial slight. His remark was made at a time when the Workers' Party appointed Pritam Singh as their Secretary General. If the Workers' Party, the largest opposition party in Singapore, becomes the ruling party, Pritam Singh would have become the Prime Minister. All three Singapore's Prime Ministers have been Chinese because Chinese form the majority race in Singapore. But Singapore is a multicultural nation, so inevitably, someone like Tharman would come up. But Tharman himself had said he doesn't want the job, and he's getting on in years anyway. I mean, he's only a few years younger than Lee. Lawrence Wong was born in 1972 and he'll be turning 50 this year. Several of the fourth generation ministers are already well into their 50s. So having Lawrence Wong taking over as a Prime Minister gives him a longer runway. Heng Swee Keat himself said that the runway for him is too short because he's already 60 years old. Not to mention his health isn't exactly in good shape. He suffered a stroke a few years ago and was recuperating for several months. Some of his workload had to be redistributed back to his predecessor Tharman. So, well, we wouldn't want a sickly man to be the country's leader? What if he gets incapacitated? Lawrence Wong has no known health problems, and he should be the most suitable for the job. Lawrence shows that he had a heart when he cried during a press conference while he was the coordinating minister for the COVID-19 task force. Yes, managing COVID-19 isn't easy, as China has shown. You can never achieve COVID-0 no matter what you do. The idea is to keep the infection count as low as possible without disrupting the economy. And Lawrence Wong, being the finance minister, well, is in the best position to do that. If he can manage that well, there's no reason why he shouldn't be endorsed as a prime minister. But Singapore Democratic Party's Chee Soon-juan had this to say: at the end of the day, Lawrence is cut from the same fabric as everybody else from his party. They have no individuality. They are all subservient to the great leader, aka Loong, and his family. So everything they do has to be approved by Lee himself, which means their hands are effectively tied. So we shouldn't expect Wong to be able to do much or achieve anything as a prime minister. In fact, we might actually see him lose the unlosable election in 2025 along with his own seat. And the SDP team in Marsiling UTGRC may not be their ace team, but they still managed to garner close to 40% of the vote, which was a huge drop from 2015. The thing is, Singapore isn't much different from North Korea, because they are relying heavily on one party to do the dirty work. Unfortunately, the party has run out of ideas, but they're refusing to open up themselves to suggestions from alternative parties. A good example is their refusal to allow SDP's Paul Thambaya, a renowned epidemiologist, to sit on the COVID-19 task force as a special advisor. Dr. Paul certainly would be able to bring a lot of fresh ideas on board. I mean, he knows we can't achieve COVID-0, but he knows how to minimize the damage. But the PAP's hubris kept them from appointing him because he's SDP. Well, he was discriminated purely because he's SDP, nothing more. It's time for a new regime to take over. Maybe it's time for Pritam Singh, a non-Chinese and a non-PAP man, to become the Prime Minister. Pritam is from the same generation as Lawrence. They all were born in the 1970s after all. So he would make a good 4G leader if only his party had the numbers. That being said, It's time to ditch first past the post and switch to mixed member proportional representation. No single party deserves majority. It doesn't matter if it's the PAP, WP or SDP. As long as one party has majority, they're going to turn corrupt. Lawrence Wong may bring some changes, but they're only going to be cosmetic. Like what the Chinese say, 换汤不换药. They're still following the same formula. At the end of the day, the fundamentals which have rotted to the core will not be replaced. There will be no real progress made. The power would still be in the hands of conservatives who will destroy the country from within, like what happened in China during the 100 Days Reform. Nothing was done. The country was still rotten. It's time for a real leader in Singapore to step up. Maybe it's Pritam Singh, but even better if it's Chee Soon Juan. The current Secretary General of the SDP, of which Dr. Paul is a member of, appears to be the only person in Singapore who has the iron in him, just like Lee Kuan Yew in the 1950s. And don't forget, Lee Kuan Yew first started off as an opposition leader before he became Prime Minister, but his past on the opposition front bench has been whitewashed. We see history repeat itself with Dr. Chee. Dr. Chee is Lee Kuan Yew Mark II. He should be our leader, not Tharman, not Lawrence Wong, and certainly not a member of the Lee family. The elections may be 3 years away for Singapore, but you know what to do. Make Singapore great again. Vote SDP into power. See you.